Anthony,
man.
do your thing.
All right, guys, what's going on, man? I'm having my best day today. So good day today. We've got an award, so I'm pumped for that. But Anthony Angelillo, branch manager over here with Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, CEO, founder of Tag Team Nation, co-host of our wonderful series Damage Control. Been doing this for 18 years as a top originator and Scotsman Guide, and also top originator of the year for 2020 and working for 2021. We are living our best life, man. We are doing well. So
I think that we should make a post about that.
We should. Let me write that down. We have to acknowledge this. A gentleman yesterday said you have to acknowledge the small wins and the little victories, and it makes
That's so true.
It's true, man. It's true, because we're always trying to conquer massive goals, and we meet the goal and we're like, all right, what's next? What's next? And just gotta live in the moment, man. So
yes.
Let's
All
do
right.
it, man.
Hi, everyone. Melinda Grimaldi, real estate and title attorney, co-host of Damage Control, award-winning show. Apparently now, as tonight we'll be receiving an award. We're so excited to be, offered this award by the Miami Board of Realtors and YPN. So we look forward to the inaugural this evening to accept the award. But why not milk it and talk about it already, right? Because we're super excited. Because this came from an idea, and from an idea, it's turned into, it's turned into a business now, and we'll see where it takes us. But it's pretty cool. We're excited and we love it, and it's one of my favorite parts of the week. So, although it makes Thursdays really hectic, it's always one of my favorite parts of the week. So, without further ado, I'd love to introduce. What'd you say?
I said so many things come from just an idea, though.
Isn't that so true, right?
I was just thinking that, man.
People act on it.
Melinda and I are very passionate when we do our work, and that's when we did live events prior to COVID. And it's crazy to look back on everything and really digest it and really analyze the progress. But we did this, and we still do it for agents and veteran agents and rookie agents, and just sharing the wealth of knowledge and just collaborating and alleviating the problems in our business. And now it's coming to, this March Madness was crazy last week, but it's been wild, man. If you really think about it, it's been wild, and we really enjoy doing these interviews, and we learn a lot. So let's do this, man. Jeff,
as Biggie said, it was all a dream, right? And then we put a lot of work into it, and now we're really into this full swing. And I'd love to introduce Jeffrey. You have a lot of different roles, so I don't want to forget one. So I'm going to let you introduce yourself, because I believe you have a team. You're on the board of governors. You're the president of NAR. So you got a lot of stuff going on. So why don't you tell everybody all the stuff you're doing, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty.
Resume, man.
Listen, before all of that, I'm definitely a child of God, so I'm just doing the work of the good Lord, So I thank you guys once again for having me here. But yes, I am the president of NAREP South Florida, which is once a small organization, which has now become a national organization. And one of our biggest goals and our dreams is to ensure that we're continuing to create democracy in housing. One of our goals actually started last year, which is a 5-year goal, is to create 2 million Black homeowners. So I am thrilled that I was asked to serve on the board by my past president, Claudia Hibbert, and then I was asked to serve as the president. So I hope that I'm leading the chapter in the organization into a great name. And I noticed that a lot of people are coming on board. They're asking us about the organization. So I think we're definitely doing what we need to be doing. Nice. And in addition to that, I do run a great team. I sometimes forget count of how many we are, but I think somewhere between the employees and the agents, we're about 15 people. So 15 people strong. We happen to rank top 3 in our office, top 20 in the company. So that was once a dream. I started off with 2 people, never thought that I'd own a team or run a team. But 2 of my good friends ended up getting their license back in 2016. They actually came to me like 2 days apart, not knowing each other. And from there, a team was formulated in like 24 hours. Kai says, you're not in compliance. You need to change your name. We all got together. We changed our name. And now we're the JC Sales team. And we're definitely ensuring that we are serving people by not only educating the clients that are out there and the consumers that are out there, but we're basically putting a footprint, and that's truly what it's about. After that, I'm just an individual, a resident of the city of Sunrise. I've been in real estate for about 13 years and I enjoy what I do every single day.
Nice.
I love it. I love it.
Wow. So they made you change the name, huh?
Well, for a team,
Yeah.
you have to have like team in the name, right?
Yep.
You got to take real estate out and stuff like that. And it was like, it wasn't real until that moment where it became like real, and someone said a listing machine.
Yeah, you forgot listing machine. I love that. Hey, listen, nowadays, listings are where it's at because it's hard to work with buyers. It's a difficult, even though there's so much more available, like in terms of like financing because of the rates and what's going on. It's just, I mean, we don't see it as much more than, you know, in the agents and the lenders are seeing the problems because of what's going on with the access. But it's unbelievable. I'm hearing a lot about it, and it really is something. And I'm seeing the biggest thing I'm seeing, and we've talked about this before, is buyers coming up like 20, 30 grand above appraised value just to get in a house, which is insane to think about, right?
Nuts, man.
Sending offers sight unseen.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Have you had some of those or no?
I've had offers sight unseen. I've had people waiving appraisal contingencies. I've had people put $15,000, $20,000 on top of the appraisal. At first, like, let's say while we entered into COVID, it was like 5, 7, 10,000. But now you're seeing double digits. You're seeing $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 on top of the appraisal. So people are truly hungry for homes. We did an open house last weekend, and a couple of people showed up early. They said the owner, Jeffrey, sent me here. And I'm like, no, I never spoke to these people at all. People are showing up at 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, saying he said we can come early. And I'm like, that's false. That truly is. But people are
trying real hard.
That is awesome, man.
Someone posted something, and it actually it touched my heart. It was so simple, but it said listing agents out there, treat buyers agents out there with respect and dignity. The tables will shift at any time, you know. And when you say listing machine, definitely I have shifted my business to definitely control listings. And one thing that I definitely do on like Saturdays and Sundays, I'm watching people on Instagram and Facebook, and they're standing in line and they're like number 13 to get in, and I'm just cruising the streets, I'm just driving, and I'm like, wow, like you definitely want to ensure that you're on the listing side. So it's crazy, but one thing that I can definitely say is that it teaches you to truly build that relationship with your client or your customer, because buyers are even doing whatever they need to do to ensure that they're getting their offer accepted. So if you're not building that true rapport with them and ensuring that you're showing them that you're the true professional, there's agents out there that are hosting these open houses or showing these properties, and they're looking to get both sides of the deal. So
wow, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. So let's go into it, man. I have my first question. What is the type of mindset that you have since you're running all of this? I mean, you're running a resume, man. You got a lot of things going on. What type of mindset do you need to have, you know, the ability to adapt in that situation? I mean, you're like you're going. And I feel like a lot of agents just enter in the sector. They're obviously trying to get to that level, but explain your mindset, my man.
I truly am self-motivated. Some people out there, they got to wake up every morning. They got to write their affirmations. They got to do their gratitudes. They got to meditate. But one thing about me is that I have a self-drive, which some people just don't, but I believe in whatever I touch, I'm going to be successful at it. So, and if I fail, I definitely learn from it and I try to pivot to do better. But something about me is that I feel there's an agent in my office, he says, always wake up broke, you know? And I think that's just one thing that has shifted me to ensure that every single morning, like the chair that I'm sitting in right now, I'm in this chair at 7:55, 7:50 every single morning, and I'm ready to go. And a lot of people, they wake up and they're like, what do I do today? You know? So truly having a game plan and saying, hey, how is my day going to start? Because I believe what you listen to, I'm very big into podcasts, especially first thing in the morning. What you listen to, the books that you read, the people that you involve yourself with, I think your circle definitely influence you to definitely be better. So if your circle is not pushing you and telling you you can do it, and they're not like dream driven, you definitely want to find yourself a new circle to hang around with, because I definitely say the people that I put myself with, the people that I hang with are definitely people that ensure that they're doing well as myself, you know. And it kind of broke my heart a couple of years ago. I'm going to add this on. A couple of years ago, I used to hang with this group that I went to high school with. And one of them I text and I said, hey, we haven't hung out in so long. And he said it just like this. It was like so smooth from him, but it was like, wow, like a heartbreaker to me. He says, Jeff, people grow apart. And I said, whoa, you know. But then as you start to mature, you start to get older, you notice that the people that you hung out with 10, 15, 20 years ago, or maybe even 5 years ago, you're no longer hanging with them because your mindset's in a different place. What you're doing is in a different place. And the conversations that you're having are just no longer the same. So we got to definitely shift, and sometimes shift is for the better. And that's what I like.
Dude.
Listen, I have so many follow-up questions right now.
I got a whole list. Go ahead, go.
What it's super important. It's such an important observation, right? And sometimes it does feel bad, and you just have to be grateful for the time that you had, but you really can't get stuck in the place just because you feel bad, right?
Yep.
And finding those, and usually it happens naturally. That's not like a thing, right? So when I started law school, I'm like that studious type of student, right? So I lost friends because they couldn't get that I can't go out and party every night, right? Like I when I started law school, like my party days changed forever. Like I really don't do that anymore, right? So I still like to have fun, but it wasn't like I'm not gonna go out Thursday, Friday, Saturdays like how we used to, you know, that's not happening anymore. So
some of my friends now, they still go out to this day. Some of my friends now still go out to this day, and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They're out and they're like, Jeff, you got to come out. And I'm like, if I come out, I got to be at this place at 9 o'clock in the morning. I won't wake up. I'll drink too much. I might as well just stay home. I'm just safer.
So that's the exact conversation Anthony and I have had this week, because like max it's one night a week for me to really go out. And if there's a work function, like that's it. That's the one, right? So like tonight, like I can't, he went out last night for a work dinner, and then he's tonight. I'm like, I don't know how you're going to survive, because we wake up early, we do all this stuff. It's like too much. I'm like, you need a nap before you go out today, right? Exactly. But there's that part of it, right? But there's also like even people in your closest sphere, like I joined a coaching program, and that's when I really started to pivot, like how I think about business and growth and all that stuff. And that's when I started to find new friends, and not new friends, but like, you know, it's different. If people can't keep up, they don't understand you, right? They don't understand what you're doing, why you're working so hard, why you're taking time to do certain things. So, and it's kind of like, it's almost like frustrating sometimes to have to explain yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so it's also on your end, you know, you tend to gravitate to people who get what you're doing and why you're doing it. So there's that. And I will even say in my marriage, luckily my husband started on the personal development path before me, because if not, like that's a huge thing too. If you have one spouse, like we've been married now, it's going to be 10 years. If you have one spouse that's doing it and the other spouse isn't, you're going to have a problem. Yeah, because they're not going to get that, right? So. There's problems even without it. So you don't like, you just add that to it. It's just going to be crazy. So it's definitely something that you need to be ready for in these transition, in these growth phases. These are natural things, part of life.
There's different.
I'm glad you mentioned coaching, because that's definitely something that has helped me out, and I'll definitely get into that a little bit more.
Awesome. Ahead, before we get into more things, we have so many Anthony, go ahead. I have more too, so go ahead.
So let me elaborate on what we just said. So yeah, there's different levels to all of that, right? And I don't think it's okay, let's not hang out with our friends anymore, because I think my high school friends would die for me. They're that close to me, right? But it's just that there's different levels of success, and not saying they're unsuccessful. All of them are successful. What I mean is that you might be in a different mindset, that you don't want to go out in that, you know, in that restaurant or that bar, wherever you're going to go. And you want to succeed because your goals are, you know, X, Y, Z. So I think everyone needs to understand that the levels in success, there's different levels. There's hectomillionaires, there's millionaires, there's people that are making six figures, there's people that are just getting by, living paycheck to paycheck. Those levels matter. And so their goals are what they're trying to achieve.
Anthony, it goes back also to exactly what you just said. Success is viewed as you as the individual, how you view it. You know, some people view success as closing a deal, just one real estate deal, you know, as success. And it goes back to exactly how we started off. We got to celebrate the small things, you know. And one thing that we have to do is we have to not watch what other people are doing as far as a form of jealousy or as a form as I wish I was them. It's truly seeing what makes you successful. Because when I first got into the industry, I was in the office day and night, you know, and some people were out, you know, and I view that as being successful, where other people would be like, oh my gosh, you're working so much. You know, even my family, I would skip out on family sessions and stuff like that because I was just so focused on being to where I wanted to be. And for me, that was success to me. And other people were like, ugh, like you're always working, you know what I mean? So we definitely have to we have to understand where we are at life, understand truly where we want to go, and celebrate that we are successful in our own ways.
Yes. Amen. Dude, amen. I love that.
It's so true. So it's funny, like even yesterday, I'm having a conversation over dinner about working out. And I'm like, man, I gotta like work out more. But my husband's like, with your schedule, working out 3-4 times a week without like taking anything away, that is like actually being very successful at working out, because you're not taking out any hours of work. You're not taking out hours of family time. You're finding ways to squeeze it in. Like you can't really do more than that without taking something away. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I felt a little better, you know, about it. I was like, today I worked out with my son, and like you find ways to make it happen. And I like took that as a win. You know what? That's a win. I'm taking that as a win right now, that I've actually had some sort of routine and I'm actually doing it a few times a week. So I'm going to take it as a win, and then take it as a successful, you know, upgrade in that department. But you got to find them sometimes. You don't see it right away.
One thing that I want to add though is that you got to start somewhere. So sometimes people, they try to bite the whole pie at one time, and starting off at 3 days is definitely a start. You know, at least you're doing something, you know, starting off at 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then maybe you go into 5 days, you know, but starting off somewhere and saying, hey, I'm going to start, I'm going to be committed, I'm going to continue doing this. And it's no different than going to the gym. When you first start at the gym, you're picking up 5-pound weights, you go to 10, you go to 25, 35, and you just move your way up.
Yes, that's so good. That's so good. So how do you think you got your mindset? Like, were you born this way? Do you think your parents had something to do with it? Did you do something that gave you a shift? You said like, I just have this mentality, like that's how I am. So like, but it had to be developed somehow. So I'd love to know about that, about you.
32 years of age is what I am today. And I probably wouldn't give you the same answer that I give to you today 5 years ago or maybe 10 years ago, but I think you definitely hit it on the head. I think my upgrowing has definitely forced me to be successful and do better. You know, my mother comes from the medical field. She's actually finally about to retire, 64 years of age. And I was talking to a gentleman, the guy that came and fitted me for my outfits just a couple of weeks ago, and didn't come from money. I didn't come from money, neither did he. And we were able to just speak about our upbringings. And one thing that I remember was my mother picking me up from school and not being able to afford daycare, but me not truly understanding it. So she would bring me back to the hospital that she worked at, and I would sit in the car for 2-3 hours and just sit there and just wait, you know, and then until she brought me home or she had someone to watch over me. And then once again, when other people were doing things and I wasn't in the position to do that, it was like something's like different here. So I actually started working at the age of 16. And from there, I always pretty much just took off at anything that I did. You know, I was at the age of 16. I was running a department at the age of 17. They're like, you're not even 18 years of age yet. HR started getting involved and they had to do some paperwork stuff to leave me to run a department and stuff like that. So I think our upbringings and the people that we surround ourselves with, once again, definitely mold us to who we are today. And I think a drive for success and a drive to just be great. You know, I was always good in school. I got good grades. I was in advanced classes. But I think truly I give it back to my upbringing, my family, my mother. My father wasn't truly in the picture much. So I give it back to her.
Was she like your cheerleader? Was she's like, you're going to do amazing things, you're going to be great? Or was she more like tough love?
So guess what? Not really, you know, and maybe throughout my years in college, when I struggled with college and trying to work, and I undergraded in law, by the way, and there was class. So I worked full time and I went to school at night, and I would get D's and C's and stuff like that. And then the other kids will sit next to me and they'll get A's and B's on just their assignments. And I'll be like, damn, why did my mother ever push me harder when I was in school? You know, like read a book or write a journal or go do something. I used to go home and I watch TV at 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, damn, like, why didn't she? So it was a very chill lifestyle, you know, get good grades, go to school, but go out and play, you know, where I felt like back then, I felt like, man, if I would have read like, for example, one lady spoke to us one time and she's like, my son reads the dictionary. He picks the dictionary up and he reads it. And I'm like, man, maybe I should pick up the dictionary and start reading it. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
And this was before Instagram and social media, man.
Exactly. You know, so I was one of the kids that used to play outside with the neighbors and stuff like that. And so she was never tough on me. She really never was. It was more just be a good boy, and that's all, you know?
Yeah. But that's important too. And playing outside is important. Like we kind of, and making friends and going out and doing that, that's super important. That's what makes you a social person today, is because you went out and did that as a kid.
Yeah.
Like the kids who are inside studying all day long also usually can't be out and socializing, right? Because they don't have that skill, that people kind of thing, right? So there's a balance to all that stuff. And I try to I overanalyze it sometimes too much with my kids, because you're like, okay, I should have been pushed a little harder, but I'm super social, so I was able to do that. So like, how do I get my kid to have that right mix of like, you know, the books, the social, the everything? It's so crazy. But so let's pivot a little bit.
Yeah, let's pivot.
I know, Anthony, you said you wanted to get into coaching, so let's go there. What kind of coaching have you done, Jeff?
So I'm in the Mike Ferry coaching program right now. I'm probably about to hit a year. Never believed in coaching. Always believed that, hey, you already know what to do. Why are you going to hire someone and pay them thousands of dollars to already tell you what you want to do? But guess what? The pandemic took place. And I actually, I had COVID. I had COVID right in the interim of us shutting down and our office shutting down. And when I was feeling better, I was pretty much stuck at home, and everyone's like, what's going to happen? I'm getting nervous. I entered the real estate industry in 2008, 2009, but it was pretty much, it wasn't the crash, you know, it was pretty much the bounce back, you know?
Yeah.
So people were doing what they needed to do to make things happen. And when I got into it, I was doing well already. So I said, wow, real estate's going to fall. And I
had a moment of that too.
So I said, what do I do? I was under contract. I was moving from my other house. I was under contract on a property in Weston. I canceled that contract right away. And I said, no, I got to save my dollars. And I ended up, I think the company that I'm with ended up presenting Mike Ferry. He spoke. And one of my colleagues from my office always told me about the coaching program. He says, Jeff, if you get into the coaching program, imagine how much better you'll be, la, 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 la. So I did the interview, I did the consultation, and I entered into the coaching program. And I'm glad to say that I'm in it. I'm using the tools that I'm learning to educate my agents better, to coach other people better. So I think coaching is definitely something. I've spoken to life coaches before. I've spoken to psychiatrists before. I think coaching is definitely something that everyone needs. And then as you start to read more, you'll learn that every true professional that is out there has some sort of coach. Some of them have 2, 3 coaches. They have coaches for everything, you know? And I think of Oprah Winfrey when I say that. She has a coach for every single thing in her life. So I definitely say that if you're not in a position to afford a coach, then you want to get someone that's truly, truly a mentor to you, that they understand that they're a mentor to you and they can definitely guide you. But I can definitely say that the money I was making in 2019 was not the money that I made in 2020 due to the coaching program.
And doesn't that say, man, I wish I would have done this earlier. I think about that all the time. Look at all those years I wasted. I could have been so much further ahead, but that's okay. And that's why I always share with everybody, like the benefits of coaching and investing in yourself and your business to be able to do that. Anthony, I know you want to share.
So Jeff, dude, so this is crazy. So COVID happens. All right. Everyone's going crazy thinking that they're going to lose their job, me included. I'm like, all right, I got to start really cutting costs here. And you go into a coaching program, you're just like,
exactly.
Dude, that's sick. That's mindset right there. All right. So you're everyone's going left and you're going right, and you're investing in yourself by getting the better tools to try to pivot during this pandemic. That's interesting, man.
One thing that I said, Anthony, was I was not going to be the one that had to shut down the business. And not only that, I think more than anything, I'm responsible for the agents that are on my team, but also the employees that I have employed. And I said, there has to be some sort of shift that happens here to ensure that we stay in whatever direction that we're going, that we definitely stay on top. And that's why I definitely signed up for it. And I said, hey, I'm going to put this in full force, and whatever happens, happens.
The crazy thing is, that's when Melinda and I started this show. And I remember speaking to her and I'm like, shit, like, do we continue? I mean, it's going to cost us money. Where are we going with the real estate career? Never mind the show. And, you know, we collaborated about that many times because everyone was worried and concerned, but here we are.
But then we would show up on screen, guys, we got this. Like, we're like, because at the beginning, it was mostly agents we worked with that were on the show, right? Because we were just getting started. And we're like, we need to get these agents like minds right. We need to keep them working because everyone was being afraid and like not sure. And like, you got to keep working. You got to keep working. We had my good friend who's a psychologist. We had her on the show talking about like adjusting your mindset, because it's such an important thing to make sure that we do. So you know, I could appreciate that thing. And when I think back at that time, I had like 2 days where I'm like, this is shitty situation for business purposes. Of course, it's terrible what happened to the world as a whole and to a lot of families, but for business, I was having a moment where like, I'm just getting my groove on, and now this. And then I said, you know what? I'm not going to allow this to be my excuse. That's one of the lessons I learned in coaching, is like taking responsibility for our successes and for our failures and not blaming outside factors. And that's why I'm not going to let COVID be my excuse. And I think we kind of got on that thing, and we just hit it hard, and we doubled down, and we, like, everyone who did that, I think saw some great success in the last 12 months for sure.
Without a doubt.
So
I'm thinking about how much the property would have been invested.
And imagine, I probably could have flipped it now.
I know, right? But sometimes in fear, we retract, right? You had that moment and you retract. And it's not that it's bad to like reassess and reevaluate where you are, but coming from fear, are you coming from fear or are you coming from practicality? And like, is it a practical move or is it a fear move that you're doing? And understanding that, I think, is an important thing, right?
And what ends up happening is that who knows what can happen later on, because the home that I'm in right now, I wasn't even looking. I wasn't looking. I was happened to be driving, and I got an alert to my phone, and I was the first agent to see the first agent or the first buyer, whatever you want to call me, to see the home. 72 showings later, 11 offers. I'm here, you know, and the equity is definitely paying off right now, you know. So it all works out the way it's supposed to at the end.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Jeff, did you change when all that went down? Did you change? Obviously you did, but like, what did you do to change your business? Like, how did you acclimate yourself and adapt in the situation?
So self-motivated already, like I said, always been a caller. One of the things that I struggled with was scheduling and ensuring that I had a tight schedule, and always been a guy that puts the stuff in the calendar, but it was truly an understanding of basically saying that you got to list to last, not knowing where the market's going to go right now. It was a lot of personal touches. So I was listening to a lot of podcasts. I listened to Tom Ferry. I listen to Grant Cardone. I'm listening to Mike Ferry. I'm listening to them, and all of them are saying that we got to touch the people. So what are we doing to ensure that the people are okay? So it's going back to your database and calling these people, and how are they doing right now? What are their thoughts? And that was really what my question was to every single person I was calling, is what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen? Because a lot of these people may have real estate related questions right now. My past clients are mostly first-time home buyers, so they're probably all freaking out, trying to find out who has been furloughed, what's going on. And then the forbearance program came out. So now it's educating them on the forbearance program. Then the forbearance program comes out, everyone is attacking it. And then you get hit with, hey, you can take this forbearance program, but guess what? Month number 4, we want all 3 months in a lump sum. So now I'm recoaching everyone that I say, go ahead and apply for it, take it. I'm coaching them, calming them down, what's going on. And then some lenders are doing it. Some lenders are putting it on the back end, and then interest rates drop. So what happens once interest rates drop? So what I'm doing is I'm reaching out to people and talking to them about, hey, I remember you bought your house in 2018, you bought your house in 2019, you have a 4% interest rate, right? If I can get you a lower interest rate, would you be interested? And just basically just having this conversation with them, getting them on the phone with the lender. And I was able to complete, I would say maybe 5 or 6 transactions where people refied and purchased another property last year. Yeah. And a lot of them purchased investment homes. Others of them purchased bigger homes. So it was able to be that source of knowledge. And that's truly where I come from. I come from a place of value. Every single time I speak to someone, I get on a 10-minute conversation with them and it turns into 30, 45 minutes, but I just truly enjoy being able to not just educate, but also learn, because speaking to people, you learn from them as well. I think you're not always the person to talk down, but also being able to humble yourself. So that was definitely an essential, because I can recall one particular customer of ours, and it was just me just dropping off a basket to their home for their anniversary during this pandemic. And they ended up inviting me in half an hour. We spoke about them not filing their homestead exemption. We got them to do that right when I was sitting there. We got them to gather up their documents to refi. We got them to talk about not taking out this PACE program loan that they were looking into, because they wanted the solar panels, he wanted the windows, he wanted the AC. And I was like, bro. And then last but not least, we got to talk about renting out that house and getting into a bigger home, and it wasn't even planned. It was truly me just stopping by. And I got there like at 8:00 at night, and I think I left like at 11:00 at night that day.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah. That's crazy that you were calling people that had higher interest rates, and that's really what we're doing as lenders, right? To make money. And you're doing that just as value, just to touch base, as Melinda says, gas calls, give a shit. And and that's the reality. And look what happened. You've got purchase transactions through that for investment properties. So it's pivoting yourself to be more creative and adapt in the situation. I always tell these guys in here, it's all about adapting, man. Adapt or die, as Kobe Bryant says, man. You've got to adapt in every situation, no matter how hard it is.
So how did you adapt? You called, you picked up the phone. So you probably were more intentional about doing this, right? In these moments where you're just sitting, where everyone's at home. So what else did you do?
So it was definitely that. It was calling the people that were in my database, ensuring that they were okay, finding out who's on furlough, what's going on with people. But it was also listening to every single thing that my coach said. So what happens is, before you enter into the coaching program, they have you complete an assessment. And based off the assessment, you tell them everything that you want to get done. So they put me with this lady, and she's basically reviewing everything that I had filled out like 2 weeks ago that I actually had forgotten. And she's like, you say you want to do X, 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 Y. And I'm like, yes, this is all what I want to do. And she truly just basically put a business plan together, where one thing that I told you guys, I'm always a good student. I never want anyone chasing me about anything, right? So I always know that I have a follow-up call with her the next week. So she gives me a list of homework assignments to do. So either I'm doing the homework assignments at the last minute because I procrastinate, or I'm doing it right away when I get off the phone with her, so that I can ensure that come our next week call, I'm not in trouble, quote unquote, But it was really understanding that there's an opportunity right here where people are going to be selling their homes. They're going to be selling their homes, but they're not selling their homes because there's no equity. They're selling their homes because there's tons of equity in this, And this is way before the multiple offer situation started. I remember just showing property, and we were wearing t-shirts and joggers and stuff like that. But what I truly did was I truly created a schedule where all I wanted was listings. And I restructured my whole team. I brought on a showing agent. I brought on a buyer's agent, where a lot of the agents were truly free to be whomever they want to be on the team. And I said, I have a dream, I have a goal, and the way that I'm going to get that is I got to give back. And this is buyers that I was working with already. I had to pretty much add someone on and say, hey, this person's going to be assisting you in that. And all I did was stay on the phone. Even to this day, like I tell my agents, I haven't left my house in 3 days. I haven't left the house in 2 days. I truly just hit the phones all day, talking to expireds, talking to FSBOs, sending out information, ensuring that I am the first person that they meet with when it comes time to listing their home. And I think it's truly about that. You in this industry right now, it sucks where the market is. But if you have the inventory, and guess what dawned on me the other day? If you have the inventory and now you have the buyers that need the inventory, guess what you're able to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm matching already, you know, I'm matching and it's becoming extremely more rewarding, you know?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
What are you doing with the buyers that don't purchase the listing?
we're ensuring that we always get them pre-approved. We're putting them through consultations. We're showing them properties that are out there. But one thing that I'm doing is a lot of times people lack at follow-up. As individuals, we lack at follow-up. So what you got to do is you got to tell the buyers pretty much what's going on. You got to give it to them raw. You know, you got to say, hey, this is what type of market it is. This is what's happening. And when your offer is not accepted, you have to have that relationship with them where they're telling you, Jeff, next. And that's really what was going on with a lot of the buyers that we were working with. They were like, it's fine, next.
But because you set them up
Yes, man.
with
Yes.
the right expectations up front. Like, this is
Exactly.
the market. We might submit some offers that are not going to get accepted, right? You're having a real
Exactly.
conversation.
I just got a clear to close from a gal that I made an introduction to, and I gave her a call yesterday. I mean, congratulations, we did it. And she's like, man, it was some challenging time to go through property. I'm like, yeah, but your agent set those expectations. She's like, yeah, she did. So that mental headspace is because it can deflate you, man, getting rejected over time, over again and again. And then you lose altitude and you obviously, you know, lose that client because they don't think the stars and the moon are aligned. But that's awesome, man. You're pivoting. You pivoted left, right, up, down. I mean, like, holy crap, man.
It goes back to the question that you guys asked right before the session started. It says, why do you believe that you may have lost buyers? And one of the options was not communicating. We have to truly communicate with people. We got to let them know what's going on. In our consultations that we do with our buyers and our renters, it says at the end of this, we're going to make you mini real estate agents. So being transparent, explaining everything to them so that when things are happening, they totally understand what's going on. They're not clueless. And when an opportunity comes for them to go another route, they're committed to you and they're letting you know. They're calling you. I had a lady call me a couple of weeks ago. She said, Jeff, my friend introduced me to this other agent with this other brokerage, and I told her I'm committed to you guys.
Yeah.
So communication is definitely key.
Music right to your ears. I'm committed to you.
Exactly.
I love that. Because that's one of the questions I know a lot of people ask in their intake is like, are you committed to another agent? And like, yes, I'm committed to Jeffrey and his team. It's a beautiful thing.
Yep. We train our agents in hosting open houses.
Right. It's amazing. So how have you, I know you mentioned you use technology to do a lot of these pivots. How are you using technology to keep up with the communication through the process? Do you have any tips or tricks that you've used or things you've implemented? Because obviously, like, life has changed. Look what we're doing right now. Life has changed, right? Like, we're on Zoom, we're doing things virtual. So of course, everyone's had to go that route, but like, what have you done and what do you think are your key pieces for that?
So you talk about the pandemic and I talk about money. So you're definitely right. Systems in place. So we always had Zoom. I even think I had the pay subscription, but what I started doing was I started doing a lot more appointments through Zoom. I started using Monday.com to ensure that a lot of things that we needed to get done were being done, following up with that. I was on something else, another platform, but it was free, so you weren't getting the best use of it. You know, I went into scheduling a lot of stuff, paying for Calendly, and ensuring that my people were doing what needed to be done. So when people stop, for example, a lot of people stop sending out postcards. I would tell you every single week, I'm getting a call from just a postcard that we sent out just the week before. And it's people that are just having questions or people that just want to list and they just want to get their home sold. But other people were pulling back and I was just pouring in, you know?
That's what I was just going to say is that you know, are you pulling back the right things, right? If your people are saying, oh, I want to cut my costs, but you're cutting the wrong, these are like money producing activities, right? Versus, Yeah, okay. I have 3 streaming music. I could probably lose 1 or 2, right? But that's different than cutting out the postcards that are getting you leads. So
But it's crazy if you think about it though, and I'm thinking about it right now, the technology now is advanced and everyone's going tech. The postcards are the ones that are probably going to have higher retentions, man, because people want to, that's like a personal touch, the postcard, you know what I mean? So it's just
nowadays where there's so much virtual.
It's all virtual. So it's crazy how things are changing. Wow.
I'm extremely old school. I still use a black box. I don't know if you guys can see it with the virtual background, but I still use a black box. I'm extremely old school with a lot of things that I do because what happens is sometimes, and while I believe in systems and I'm always willing to try something out, I believe we get so inundated sometimes with the system and with the automation of things that we just lose that real life, you know, just real life. So the black box definitely keeps me accountable. So what's in my black box?
What do you have in your black box? Business cards?
What's in my black box is things to do for the day, but also people to follow up with, agents, clients, consumers. And I write on the back of the black card what we last spoke about. So it gives me an idea of where to pick up the conversation from, follow up if I need to follow up, and where do I go with the conversation.
That's like old school CRM box right there.
Wait, is this like a Rolodex?
Rolodex, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Holy shit, man. Open this thing up. Let me see this. I gotta look at this thing.
It's literally a black box. It's a black box.
Show it to me. I want to see.
You pulled it up before, but oh, there we go. He took
it. But I want to,
without the black box.
No way, bro. Holy.
Yes, I add to it, and it's
shit. That's
I used to drive around with it, honestly, because I used to be in the car so much. So I would make my calls while I was in the car, knowing that I need to touch bases with 10 people or 15 people or whomever. But now it's in my home. I don't leave this chair that I'm sitting in right now much, but yes, it's
back to basics, baby. I was telling that to Melinda yesterday. We gotta go back to basics.
Sometimes we really just need to take it back to basics with certain things. And that's why we started our sales call challenge, because everyone's kind of looking to pay for leads and looking to do all these things. But we have so much, if we just get on the phone with the people we know, the leads we already have, the people in our sphere, there's so much money to be made and relationships to be built. But you have to do the work. Like, why are you going to go pay for more leads if you got things you didn't finish up yet? You know? Yes.
I love it. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. People sometimes they want to like pretty much overextend themselves with so many things. And it's like, hey, master what you're working on already before you move on to something else. And that's another thing. People quit too early.
Yeah.
People quit too early. They don't see the return on things, and they say, hey, I'm pulling out, this ain't working out. And I'm more of a go-getter. I'm like, hey, let's keep trying it. Let's keep trying it. Let's keep trying it, because I believe if we continue to feed while tweaking maybe what we're doing, we'll definitely see the return of it.
The tweaking is the important part, right? Because if you have to stick with things, but you have to analyze the data and the results and what's working and what's not, and adjust and pivot. What do you tweak, pivot, turn, adjust, whatever you want to use, whatever word you like, but you got to do a little bit of that and reflect on what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of our time needs to be spent in reevaluating our business. So as we move into the second quarter, we need to say, hey, what went well in first quarter? What was I supposed to do and didn't do that I need to get done in second quarter? And how do I envision my second quarter look like? And a lot of times we don't, a lot of agents just wake up and they just go, like, for example, I'm a caller. So like when other realtors call me like at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, you're obviously doing the wrong thing, because they're calling me about a pending deal that, Jeff, I wanted to know, I'm not like, it's just not the right time. And that's another thing that I did. My assistant now answers my work cell phone. So other systems that we talk about in place to ensure that there's no missed calls and things like that. But people just truly, they don't have a plan of action. They want to be successful. And that's what it is. Like, I want to make a lot of money, but you got to say, how much money do I want to make and how am I going to make that money? You know, and I learned that years ago. We've got to pretty much break it down and continue to break it down until we understand truly what we need to do and where we're going to get started and how it's going to get us to our finish line. And I still challenge with that. I still do, guys. I still do.
So the reflection is so important. The program that I was in, we had a 90-day look back every quarter. And then we do the 90-day plan, right? Like forward-looking plan. So it's always important, no matter what, before you start looking or doing and making a list of all things you have to do, the first thing you should be doing is like, okay, look at all the things I accomplished, right? That boosts your ego, makes you feel good, and it doesn't make you feel overwhelmed. Like, look, I did do a lot, right? But then in all that I did do, what could I have done better? What did I miss? What worked well? What didn't work well? And then implement all those things you learned into your next quarter. But it's important you set the time apart to do that, right? Because you can't be doing that in between your calls and your work meetings and your showings and your listings and your Zooms and your stuff. You need to actually break down the time to do it.
And it's truly getting a tight schedule and putting that into your schedule. You know, like, for example, checking your email should be something that's in your schedule. You know, answering your phone calls, your missed phone calls or your voicemail should be something that's in your schedule, because it allows you to truly identify how your day is. You know, one of my good friends, she'll call me like at 7 o'clock at night now, and like I'm like, she's like, what are you up to? I'm like, nothing, on the couch watching TV. And she's like, oh my gosh, Jeff, I love this. Because the old Jeff, I'd be at the office 10 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, but I've taken control of my schedule, and it's allowed me to be a lot more happier and enjoy life a lot more.
Right. But then being very strict when you are on the clock, right? With your time blocks and stuff like that, right? To allow you to have some freedom. I challenge with that a lot for many years, because I grew my business on accessibility. But now that I grew my team, I don't need to be as accessible because my team is super available to everybody. So that was something that I challenge with on a daily basis because of that. Of course, I have friends who hit me up, and I love that like we're in the industry and like they're like, hey, look at this wording for me. And I still love that. That's like my favorite thing, especially on new offers, right? I love to help you with new offers, but I had to set boundaries. So from 6 to 8, I don't touch my phone. If I do, I'm cheating on myself, because I said 6 to 8 is my family time. It's like the only time I really have. So like, I need to set that boundary. I need to not be like on my cell phone the whole time. So finding whatever boundaries you have to put, you know, in your life to either enjoy or have family time or whatever is super important. I've learned.
Jeff, do you set up like time blocks with the calls you make too? Because you're saying you're hammering the phones for 3 days, going on a binger over here. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm just slamming the phones all day. I want a breakdown of that.
So definitely time blocking on the phones is definitely something that I continue to do to this day. So what I was doing prior to March, I'm doing a March Madness session with about 5 of my agents. So we are doing the session from 8 to 8:45 every single morning. But prior to that, there was a group that I was involved in, which was a part of my team as well. And what we did was we role played. We role played from 8 to 8:30. Our email checking was from 8:30 to 9, and from 9 to 11 we were on the phones. That's
the way to do it.
Hold on, role played, and then what was the 2 things? What were the time blocks?
8:30 to 9, you're checking your emails. 8 to 9, 9 to 11, you're on the phone making calls. 11 to 12, you are doing your thank you cards. Following up on anyone that you had spoken to before, and also anyone that you need to send anything to that could be a prospective lead or consumer or client.
Based on your calls from before.
Mm-hmm. And you're right in line to go to lunch at 12 o'clock and return your voicemails.
12 lunch, and then return voicemails. What days of the week? Every day or
Friday? Monday through Friday, yes.
See that, man? I hope everyone's paying attention here. Wow, this is badass.
If you have your appointments, you do those in the afternoon?
Yeah, so like people like even appraisers, like they'll be like, hey, can I do the appraisal at 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock? Like, nah, I can't. Well, books. One thing that I believe is that regardless of what it is on the schedule, if it means that much to you, I'm not going to shift it, So if whatever you're doing means that much to you, don't shift it, don't change it. And I always say, hey, anything after 1 o'clock, anything after 12:30, I'm definitely available. But prior to that, I'm not.
So with the appraiser is what, so you're trying, dude, this is amazing. So you're
The appraiser can meet me at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, just not in the mornings. Pretty much no one's available. I'm not available to anyone in the morning.
That is awesome, man. That just made my day. So you're controlling.
Well, thank you for making an exception for us today.
That's freaking awesome.
Make an exception, but then you have to shift, right? Like you got to take that hour of time that you had set aside for something else, and you got to do it later.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly it. So so if I miss an hour, I'm doing that hour at 7 o'clock at night. So if I missed an hour of prospecting between 5, 6, or 7, right before 8 o'clock, I'm making up that hour. So it's late at night. I actually go outside around that time, and I sit outside on the balcony, and and I'm calling during that time. And sometimes I get the weird calls, like it's 7 o'clock at night. I'm like, okay, cool, got it. Next.
People like that time block, so it depends, depending on who it is, right?
It falls in line with exactly what my coach says. She says you should be following up with leads or prospects in the morning, in the afternoon, or at night. Because depending on if their work schedules, you don't know where it's going to be convenient for them. So a lot of times when I did buyer's consultations, or I'll do listing presentations through Zoom, those would typically be a 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, or 5 o'clock activity.
Yeah, because that's usually when people are available. That's just the reality of life, right? Exactly. That's usually like the people have the 9 to 5, and then they're able to log on and with their spouse or whoever and get on and focus on what you're talking about. So I love that. Sometimes I'm a big proponent of time blocking. I told Anthony today that he has to do that a bit better, and like really stick to it, because if you want to grow it, add on more things, right? I know you do other things as well. You're on the boards. You're doing. You represent another company, right? In the CBD space. I don't know exactly the details, but I'd love to pick your brain on that in the last few minutes. But like we're trying to grow, right? Diversifying our income. That's everyone's goal. Let's get a little here, a little there. But you need to have your stuff checked out and in order and under control before you can move on to build something else, right?
I'm already working on April on some things that I want to get done. And one of the challenges that I have is I'm understanding the schedule, but what I don't have is I don't have a set date to do certain activities. So that was one of the calls that I had with my coach yesterday. So what I did was I pulled the calendar out, old fashioned once again. It's a paper calendar.
Planning, I like the paper. Then I put it in the calendar afterwards. But for planning, the paper is good.
And what do you mean by set date, Jeff? What do you mean by set date? You're procrastinating on dates when you need to meet them, or what?
Breaking down the project goals, I think is what
got it.
Right.
Exactly. So for example, I want to focus a little bit more on 2 areas that I'm currently farming right now. So what I've done was I wrote them down, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify 2 days out of the week that I'm going to focus on these particular developments or communities, There's some video content that I want to get out. So I'm identifying a day of where I'm going to work on my video content and get that into the calendar. And then there's some other stuff that I want to do, but I want to make sure that I get it on the calendar. And what happens is it becomes almost like a system, So if I know every Tuesday I need to do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to be looking forward to that. And I'm going to prepare myself mentally as well as physically to be prepared to do that come Tuesday.
I love that.
You're committing on the calendar, and then that's your way of executing every time. Love
exactly.
it.
And it's so important to put realistic expectations, like make it realistic too in what you're doing. So if you know you got to pick up your kids, you got to leave some room for wiggle room. You got to do all these things. You got to leave your default, like best case scenario. This is what I'm going to do. You got to leave room for like wiggle room. You got to be able to move blocks around. So that's what I've taught my team too with my blocks. Okay, I moved the block because I got to do this. And I have like Tuesday afternoons are my marketing block, but if I can't make it, I got to shift it. And I got to, so you got to think of it as best case scenario, but then life is real. So we got to move blocks around and leave the wiggle room. And then also those wiggle rooms include like these project things, like building out a system or working on marketing campaign or something that are not in your daily day routines. But if you don't put it down, it's not going to get done. If you're like, yeah, I'll do it this week. When?
Exactly.
When are you going to do it? Right.
So we said in March Madness now, and people say, I want to get 1, 2, 3 done. And I said, when are you going to do it? Identify what time and what day you're going to do it and get back to me.
I love that.
I like that.
I do is I put it on my calendar. So one of the people that's in the coaching, she was supposed to put a video out on the 2nd of March. So 2nd of March, like around 7 o'clock at night, I said, I haven't seen that video up yet. Are you putting it out today? And she said, I totally forgot. And I said, it was on my calendar, you know, so.
It definitely helps, right? So putting on the calendar, and then most important, guys, you put all these stuff on your calendar, but you need to review the calendar, right? Because otherwise you can't prep yourself for what you got cooking that day, that week, that month. So it's super important to reflect and review so that you know, oh, if I have to post it on Tuesday, the 2nd, I better on Monday be ready with instructions, edits, whatever. And I better film the week before or whenever I have a time, you know, like plan that out and work your way backwards. That's the beauty of that, right? Is working. So I know I want to launch my company, my title company, on April 1st. I've been doing little projects each day to launch this company. And it's like down to the wire. We have a few things left, but it might be a few days late, but if I didn't have that deadline, I wouldn't have been able to launch it. And I'm like, I don't care. It's got to get done. Bank, you better open that. Underwriters, you better write me up and like get this done. Website, I don't care. Don't do it all. Just do enough, because that's it. It's going live.
Let's go.
That's it. Everything. So you gotta like think that way. And sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect, but you just gotta start.
It's about starting. Yep.
And we can tweak
first, figure it out later, man.
Yes. Okay. So we actually are wrapped up on time, but I want to ask you a question. I know you started this new project. Did you start this during the pandemic?
My coaching?
No, the CBD business that you
yes. So
tell me a little bit about that. I'd like to learn a little bit more.
So it's so funny. Someone posted, it's funny how people are getting into different things as we move into the pandemic. And I'm like, yeah, that was what I mean. So CBD, Total Life Changes. Total Life Changes is basically about living a better life. And so many times what happens is that we're on the go. We're always on the go because maybe we didn't schedule properly, right? So we're eating these bad foods. So what happens is the products that CBD offers are all organic. They're known to help you out in certain areas. For example, I've given it to people that have issues with sleeping, people that need vitamins, so I always test stuff out. I run a whole bunch of samples here and I say, hey, try this out. Let me know how it goes. So what it also is like people that lack of energy, a lot of plant-based items. I'm gonna send you some samples. Thank you so much for speaking about CBD. But it's, as you guys know, the CBD thing is on the move. You know, it's definitely going.
Where can they go to get these things? So I can put it in the channel right now.
Link in my bio on my Instagram.
So let's put those back in there. If you scroll up, but we'll put them again in the chat before you guys go. Make sure to follow Jeffrey to learn more about his team, his stuff, everything he's doing, all the organizations he's in, his CBD little side thing he's growing now, right? That's awesome. I love it. I use some CBD products for my knee because I put some cream on my knee because it got hurt.
I do the oil for my knee.
But I'm gonna try out your stuff. So we'll talk later and we'll check it out. So I love that. I love that.
How does, let me, I have to ask, man, because I do the oil because I run for my knees and stuff, just to like as a preventative of like inflammation, whatever the case is. What about the drops? Do those work, man, or what?
The drops do work. You know, you gotta take them. So the drops that we have, you take them 3 times a day, but you don't take them and drink after that, or you don't do anything crazy. You gotta really take it and you really gotta follow the instructions. So a lot of the drops come with instructions on how you should eat, how you should prep your day, and you got to drink a lot of water. A lot of the CBD products, you got to drink a lot of water. Yes, definitely. So if you do that, you'll definitely see the results of it.
Nice.
Love it.
Love
Good
it.
stuff, guys. Now, of course, you didn't just start doing this when your real estate business was all crazy and disorganized and unstructured, right? You structured it. You have your team helping you. You have an assistant, and you're like, let's bring on something else, right? I don't want you guys watching to take this as an opportunity to say, oh, let me just start some new shit before your new shit is not good.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, everyone's gonna go start the same thing.
Don't start a new thing before your main thing is on point.
Jeffrey said it best, man. Master your freaking craft. Stick in one lane.
Yep.
Listen, Jeffrey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Today was awesome. I really enjoyed myself. Thank you for restructuring your daily time block for today and joining us. I know everyone got some really good value out of it. I appreciate you, and send me some samples.
I just want to answer one question that was in the chat.
Yes.
If you're okay with that. It
Absolutely.
says,
Where do you get your lead?
what is your main source of my lead? My main source of my leads are for sale by owners and expireds, especially right now with where the market is. You definitely want to reach out to expireds because they can probably get what they want, but you've got to get on the phones and you got to get a system and maybe even look into a dialer.
I love that. I love that. That's good. People are afraid of that, but you shouldn't be. And if you're afraid of that, at least start calling your current sphere, start calling your people, start calling your cold leads, start calling your referral sources. Do that, get comfortable on the phone, and then start working your way towards that. It's super important.
As a buyer.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I'll see you tonight at the inaugural. All right.
Yes, I will be.
Hey guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.